Today, I would like to present a material about analyzing the article, which the title is Developing English Listening Material for the 7th year students of junior high school, which was written by Mr. Vijaya. So as usual, it will be divided into three parts. The first one is introduction, the second one is methodology, and the last one is results and discussion. Alright, next we'll move to the first part, which is about introduction. Here, for the background of the studies, mastering English is important in an advanced learning level. It helps the students in terms of some case, so that's why mastering English is very important. Based on the first one, most of material is printed in English. The second one, world communication depends on the use of English. The third one, used for all areas spoken by everybody in the world. And then the last one is mastery of English is an inevitable requirement and will later prove to be an inevitable skill to help in the learning process and real life. Basically, in Indonesia, English teachers relied heavily on using student worksheet or LKS, a kind of student workbook which aim at giving exercises to the students to work on or a course book. Several scholars point out that the LKS and course book used by teachers in Indonesia are proved to have many factual errors. The first one doesn't help students to be a good English user. The second one, materials are incompatible with the curriculum, and then emphasize on new vocab, idiom, meaning, and rules usage, but it is not include how to use it properly. And then lack of real life usage, and the last one, no demand for student to understand coherent meaning. So in this case, students know the language, but they cannot apply it to proper way. The situation in Indonesia mostly about the teachers tend to view listening as an unimportant skill as it is not required in national exam. So here our national exam is just included with writing and reading, so it is more focused on that skills without the listening part. So here the researcher tried to state that listening is very important on this study, which is based on some factual fact, which is the first one. More than 40% daily communication time is used by listening part. And then just 35% speaking, 16% of reading, and just 9% of writing. So here we got a fact that the most higher number of skill which is we need to our daily communication is listening. So based on the above condition, the purpose of this study is the researcher formulate the nature of materials that should be developed for teaching listening skill for class 7 of junior high school, and then based on such knowledge, the researcher attempt to develop the material needed for teaching and learning listening for class 7 of junior high school. To complete the study of this article, the researcher also adds some theoretical reviews which relate to the material. The first one is about the concept of materials development. So here the researcher tried to find out that materials development encompasses any kind of activity and or exercise like games, role plays, reading, problem solving, situation, group discussion, and many more. And the second one about the characteristic of materials development. Within the scope of materials development, there are several important features to take into account in the process of creating or adapting teaching materials. And the third one about teaching listening. So here, the listening as an active, purposeful process of making sense of what we hear, listening divided into three types based on the purpose. The first is listening to repeating, the second type is listening to understand, and the third type is listening to communicate. For the next, we are moved to the methodology part. So the first here, the type of research. The researcher used the research and development study. So it refers to the evaluating materials in which the findings of the study are used to develop a new product. So it is considered to research and development study. For the second one, about the target of this study is the first grade students of junior high school in Singaraja. So it will be based on curriculum, school-based curriculum. And then the third one, the data collected. The researcher collect the data based on the research of school-based curriculum and the criteria of a good listening material. And for the instrument, the researcher used the standard and basic competency of listening material based on the school-based curriculum, and the last one, the curriculum were taken for 7th class, which is at the junior high school. And for the last year, about the data analyze, were collect and organized based on the relevant information. For the next one, it's about the characteristic of good listening material based on the good material and listening, teaching, and learning theories. So this will be based on the first one. The material should have an impact on the students and arouse learner curiosity, attention, and interest. The second one, about the material should give exposure to the real language, which is attained by giving students opportunities to use language in real life communicative activities. And the third one, the material should expose students with different ways of information in processing system, namely bottom-up and top-down processing system. And then the fourth one, about the material should expose students to different type of listening. The last one, the material should be developed by considering different levels of the student's academic ability. And then the third important, which is the researcher found on this, is about the listening topics which are needed to be developed based on the school-based curriculum. The researcher developed the topics for the listening material based on the requirement of the school-based curriculum, specifically the standard competency and basic competency on the school-based curriculum for the 7th year of junior high school. So here, the researcher also include the column for the first and second semester for the topic which will be used in 7th grade of junior high school. And then here, the listening activities which are needed to be developed for a 7th-year student of junior high school is the first one, activities which achieve impact. The second one, activities which expose students to real language. The third one, activities which expose students with different information processing system. The fourth one, activities which expose students to different types of listening. And the last one, activities with different difficulty levels. And the last important thing here is about the listening material. The research was started with an observation of the classroom activities on English teaching. The teacher gives little emphasis on listening despite. The researcher concluded that the final product of this research is a set of listening materials in form of 3 student books, 1 teacher book, and a listening tape in form of a DVD. The material itself was designed so it will achieve impact on the students, expose the students to real language with different information processing system, different types of listening, and was developed with 3 different difficulty levels. The content of the material closely follows the topic as delineated by the syllabus. And the researchers also conclude that the activities which are needed to be developed based on the school-based curriculum for the 7 years of junior high school and criteria of good listening material are the first one, activities which attract students' attention and to prompt their curiosity towards the learning process, and activities which provide changes for the students to study the language, not about the language. Activities which enable students to utilize both the top-down and bottom-up processing system, and activities which expose students to different types of listening, and the last one, activities which give appropriate tasks for students with different academic ability levels. The author explained these results by stating a lot of specific and reliable data in terms of proving statements which state on the results of the research. And for the key recommendation, the authors state that this research is a preliminary research aiming at developing listening material for students of class 7 of junior high school. Further tasks still needs to be done to this particular material, which teachers and other researchers are encouraged to develop their own material for different level of students and also different focus of language learning, such as reading, speaking, and writing. Further material development, as mentioned before, should involve more scholars and experts from the. Alright, that's all that I can present you today about the article of developing English listening material for the 7th year students of junior high school. Thank you very much for your attention.